Take After Take Summer Edition here, the week of, what is the date today? We're recording this, we're recording this June 25th, so obviously we will have this live and ready to go bright and early Thursday morning. Thanks so much for everyone listening across the country, because I want to say just we got like 5,000 people listening to this thing.
I wish.
We gonna get there.
We're climbing.
We're climbing.
We're climbing.
To the moon.
Yeah.
Producer Pat on the ones and twos. Carl Prather here as well. Pat, we are in the summer months. We mentioned it last week, heading into the final couple of games of the NBA Finals. Not a lot to talk about until we get into July for us here in the southeastern part of the state that covers so much college football, with media days happening in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is, less than a month. But number one, let's revisit the NBA Finals. Just your initial thoughts on the finals. I personally thought that the series would be over in Game 6. It went to Game 7. Unfortunately, as great as Oklahoma City played throughout the regular season and the playoffs, it's kind of mirrored or overshadowed with just a difficult injury for one Tyrese Haliburton. So your thoughts on the NBA Finals? Did you even expect it to go 7? I thought it was going to go 5, and that was it.
Yeah, I thought it would go that too. We were kind of dismissive of the Pacers.
We were.
we both thought the series were over.
Yeah.
But gutsy game from them in Game 6, and then obviously Game 7, they're off to a hard start, and then you just get that absolutely terrible injury. It's a really high-profile injury, too, because I think this was the highest-rated NBA Finals game since 2019. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are watching.
Yep.
I think a lot of people became Tyrese Haliburton and Indiana Pacers fans with that performance. But, man, you can't help but think about what if, right? He has 7 minutes, 9 points.
Patrick, I think the game would be close. It'd be closer kind of down the wire, with maybe under 8 to go. I still think Oklahoma City would have went on a little run to win the game. Listen, I know that if I were in Tyrese Haliburton's position, I would have played as well. And he mentioned on a beautiful social media post, that he would do it again. But Patrick, ever since the 2016-2017 season when Kevin Durant got injured against Toronto when he was playing for Golden State and he had that initial calf strain, I have been a huge proponent of sitting guys. And I know this is kind of contradictory to being a competitor and stuff, because I already know there would be no one that would be able to tell me that I cannot play that game or multiple games. But more times than not, we have enough of a sample size. Calf strains, with the force and torque that these young men and these young women across the country are using on the basketball court, it was just bound to happen. My gut coming into that game, I don't want to say I called it, but I did not feel good about him finishing that game. I just really didn't. I'll be honest. We discussed it in our group chat. We're in a big group chat with a bunch of other guys. And Patrick, I will say this, and it really perked my ears up from another gentleman that said this on a documentary. So you remember the wide receivers documentary on Netflix?
Yeah. So,
Amon-Ra St. Brown and his dad, John Brown, was a Mr. Olympia. He was an Olympic guy. So, Amon-Ra and his brother, both of them, USC and Notre Dame, they've been weightlifting and being, working out since they were children, right? And I just will I'll never forget, I believe in no certain form, he said something about Kevin Durant and the reason why Kevin Durant that happened. And we don't know if that happened for real, but the preventative measures that could have happened is, basketball players not working on their lower bodies well enough. Because eventually, as the wear and tear goes, you need to continue to try to have some sort of strength in those lower legs and lower your legs below your knee. And you just look around the league, and I know it's kind of like it's tough because we had so many of those Achilles tears this year. Yeah. But I'm a firm believer, and I hope that we, have some medical professionals and some amazing personal trainers and understand. I know that they work those, but it's not to the extent that to me, I don't think they work on their lower bodies enough. Last night, they've been running The Last Dance the last couple of nights. And, Jordan fans and Chicago Bull fans and fans that were in it during the late 80s, early 90s, understood once Jordan and the Bulls lost Game 7 against the Pistons en route to their back-to-back world titles. he just transformed his body and really got into the weight room and stuff and put on some 10 to 15 extra pounds of muscle. And then, the rest is history. Even when he returned back to the Bulls after a 1.5 2-year hiatus, his body wasn't correct. They lose to Orlando. He mentioned it in The Last Dance, how tough it was to get his body back to basketball, but more importantly, get his weight, body, strength, lower legs all together. And I believe the first Achilles that I remember someone tearing was Dominique Wilkins. And he came back and actually played fairly well with the Celtics. But after that, I don't remember anyone in the NBA up until these last handful of years having Achilles tears. And if you just look even in the NFL, you could probably count on one hand how many just Achilles tears that we've had. Deshaun Watson probably was the latest one, but you don't have them. But why? Lower leg, squats, explosion, weight training,
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be a lot of medical research put in this now, given the fact this is a Game 7 NBA Finals. The entire nation's watching. Yep. You have this high-profile Achilles tear. Remember, there was 2 other ones, Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard, also in the same playoff. High-profile players. So... does it have something to do with the jumping and the cutting? Like, there's not a lot of jumping in football. You play with your feet on the ground.
That's fair.
Does it have something to do with the amount of AAU games these kids are playing? Is it a cumulative effect, wearing on these ligaments and these joints like this? You're going to see a lot of people put effort into this. But going back to what you were talking about, Tyrese, like, there's no way he was not going to play this game.
Correct. Because
the big thing is, if you set him out, one, you're going to always have to deal with the what ifs from the media, but also for him too, right? Like, for as great as Tyrese Haliburton and the Indiana Pacers are, he may never get back to a Game 7 NBA Finals ever again. So he's obviously going to lay it all out on the line, and it's just unfortunate that it happened this way. And it's probably one of the rare NBA seasons and one of the rare championships really in any kind of professional sports where as soon as you think about who won the title, you're immediately going to think about the team that they faced, and this Pacers team and the fact that Haliburton tore his Achilles, like, that is just going to come up. Not that it doesn't necessarily put an asterisk on the OKC title, because OKC had been the best team from start to finish. But you just can't help in the back of your mind be like, what if he plays the entire game? Again, 7 minutes, 9 points, and he's such a linchpin for everything that Pacers team does. The second half of the game, they couldn't even dribble.
No.
Poor TJ McConnell's dribbling right into a trap. Like, he would have helped with those things, and it's just unfortunate. But next season, it makes the East in the NBA wide open again. You have Boston Celtics, their star player out. Indiana Pacers, their star player is out. So if you're a team in the East, we have the NBA draft tonight. So this will release tomorrow. So we don't know what happens, but I would expect some other kind of trades to be made and some teams in the Eastern Conference kind of pushing their chips to the center of the table to try to make a run.
We mentioned this in our last week's podcast that we believe that once the NBA draft week got here, that we'd have a lot of movement. I believe I'll be shocked if with this being recorded on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with rounds 1 and 2 that we don't see a lot of movement. I think there's going to be some big names. I think you're going to see a lot of your activity happen this week relative to what we're so used to and accustomed to in the summer, middle of July, and things move and shake that way. I think this week is going to be very, very important for teams to acquire things. We just mentioned you see Boston kind of unloading a lot of luxury tax money with Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis and the whole nine. I think you'll see some stars finally just say, hey, let's just go ahead and make our moves there. I will go back to what you just mentioned about the Indiana Pacers. I believe that the Indiana Pacers, even if they would have won it, I believe that it was not a guarantee that they would even remotely even get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. This is no disrespect to Indiana. I think that their franchise is amazing. I've been fortunate enough. We were there together. We watched the Pacers game. It was a midweek game. We went for the Georgia-Alabama game in Indianapolis. I believe. No, did we go there for with me?
I don't remember if I went or not.
We went to the Pelicans game.
Pelicans, yeah.
I've been there for a game there. It was actually, ironically enough, Donovan Mitchell was with the Jazz at the time, and I watched them play the Pacers. It was a great crowd. That place is awesome. The people of the state of Indiana and Indianapolis are fantastic, great hospitality. I don't believe that it was a foregone conclusion or a guarantee that they would even remotely get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. It goes back to what we mentioned a couple of months ago when I kind of correlated this to, like, if people are fans of like comic books and superheroes and stuff. We're getting back to the age of back in the early 90s and mid 90s where every franchise has a star. And it does amazing things for the NBA and all of the franchises and the fan when you're able to have so many different types of stars that you can gravitate to in said markets. And if you look around the league, slowly but surely, these, the young stars are kind of taking over for the LeBrons and that guard because they're about to be out in the next 2 to 4 years. So you really see everyone have a star. You have people that are falling in love with the Pacers and Haliburton and that group. Donovan Mitchell and Aiden and that group over in Cleveland. No one is talking about this, but I mentioned this to a guy, one of our coworkers in the building. Who's to say that Orlando doesn't go win 60 games next year?
Well, they definitely have positioned themselves to try to do that.
Correct. Who's to say that if Paolo Banchero did not get hurt after the first month of the year with that oblique tear, he probably was going to be a first or second team All-NBA or three. He's going to be an All-NBA player and probably would have finished in the top 5-ish of the MVP voting. I think that he's going to be in the top 5 of the MVP voting next year. Orlando looks great. We know what New York is. We don't know what Boston is relative to not seeing Jason Tatum next year, and the same for Haliburton. But across the East and the West, Houston could have the very best record in the league next year. Who's to say they don't get to the East and Western Conference Finals? It's loaded.
They could also get bounced in the first round.
They could get bounced in the first round. I just think that they're more equipped. Listen, I think NBA fans love what Jalen Green can do, but now the onus is on the young man to be able to continue to develop his game. Because if you would have played well in the Golden State series, they're not trading you. But you can't score single digits in every one of those games and expect them, when they're this close with a top 5 coach, to be able to get to that point. That's why you go get an advanced age Kevin Durant, because no matter what, you know that he's at least going to give you 20 a night. And that 20 a night would have been good enough to beat Golden State, and they would have advanced. Yeah. So they're going to have the length. They're going to be great. But I am just encouraged with the growth of the NBA. We mentioned this, and me and you were going back and forth about, you got a lot of people saying nobody watches the NBA. And you saw the finals ratings. We saw the Game 7 and I looked at Sports Business Journal, I believe, yesterday. I saw a drop down on my phone. 5% increase in viewership from last year. And I believe we are an NBC affiliate. Once the NBC and the way that the new television negotiation and television deal has come about for the NBA heading into this fall, I think it's going to explode. And I think the NBA is as healthy from a player standpoint, definitely a revenue standpoint, with the, of course, with the Lakers getting bought and the Celtics being bought, and the Timberwolves being bought. It's as good as it's been since the early to mid 90s when Michael and that group were reigning supreme over the NBA. So I'm encouraged about it. And if you're a fan, 7 straight years, we've had a different champion. This could be something like this for the next couple of years. We're not saying Oklahoma City is not going to win another one. What we're saying is it would be hard. You can't say emphatically, much like the Heats, the Lakers, the Bulls of the world, San Antonio, that they're going to go back-to-back or win 3. They can win 2 and 5, 3 and 6, but there's going to be some seasons there, in my opinion, that you're going to see a new like, I would not be surprised if we have a brand new champion next year. I
mean, the Nuggets took them to 7 games.
Correct.
And Jokic kind of had very little help from that supporting cast. I'm with you, man. And you're also, like, if you're the NBA, expansion is going to happen in the next 5 years.
100%. So, who are the 2? They're probably going to do 2.
Seattle and Vegas.
I agree. And I think then, let's just say, Patrick, we mentioned that we believe the NFL is going to be the first to go international, maybe with 2, do a pod type system there. I think after this expansion with the NBA, maybe another 20 years or 15 years from now, they're going to do the international thing too. You're going to have some teams that just stay over there. From the NBA, from a global standpoint, the NBA is just entirely too big, Patrick. So they're going to have to go over there. But no doubt, you bring back the Supersonics in Seattle, and you start a new franchise in Vegas. And now that the Lakers have been acquired by the Dodgers owner, and you see the valuation of that franchise, and coupled with the Celtics and coupled with the Timberwolves earlier this year that closed, now NBA owners are saying, okay, this is very, very lucrative to us. We see what the dollars are. And now once we expand, we don't have to share all that revenue with TV, this, that, and we get to keep some of that money once we do the expansions. And the valuation is going to be well over $5 billion for each one of those franchises.
Plus, you have those expansion fees that those new owners have to pay to the original owners. NBA is in a good spot. I think the second apron, for as much as everyone is trying, which is effectively made a hard cap for the NBA.
Yeah.
As much as people are kind of up in arms about it, I do agree that I think it's good to get some of these other stars and get a little bit more parity in the NBA. I mean, that is why the NFL is king. It's because, like we talked about, every single offseason, there's probably a dozen teams who are looking themselves in the mirror and being like, we got a real shot to win it all. And I think that's it. Historically, you mentioned that's not been the case for the NBA. We have seen this sport be dominated by dynasties, going all the way back to the Celtics and before that, right? So I think it's all good. Again, I just kind of feel for Haliburton and
I do.
But, we'll see. The next NBA season will be fun as well.
It's going to be so fun. I'm just once again very excited for the health of the league. And shout out to the NHL. I'm not acting like I'm a hockey aficionado, but man, the playoffs were amazing. I loved watching games between NBA games. The Stanley Cup was great. Congratulations to Florida Panthers winning back-to-back. But man, this was just a really cool summer as we head into, summer just began officially last week. But great. I'm happy for the NBA, excited about the NBA and the future of the league. We discussed this before we hopped on the podcast. It's the summer months. People call this the silly season when it comes to college football. We're just trying to grasp at anything to have some sort of conversation about. We'll start to dive into teams and expectations as we get into the month of July. We're going to have some really cool guests, some national analysts that are going to hop on here with us as well once we get back to the summer and whatnot. The big talk this week, Patrick, has been one Thomas. I don't know if it's Castellanos or Castellanos. We will figure that out eventually. Someone will tell us kind of like Tua Tagovailoa, Vile, and Nico. But Thomas is a former quarterback at Boston College who, ironically enough, was coached under former offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien. Got some thoughts there. We'll get to that a little bit later. But Thomas Castellanos spoke with media this week discussing the upcoming big matchup, week 1 for Florida State and Alabama. The Crimson Tide traveled to Doak Walker Stadium to take on Florida State to start the year. And Thomas Castellanos, in no certain form, basically said, hey, Nick Saban can't save Alabama this year. In no certain words, continued to go on throughout the week and discuss, just wasn't a good fit for Boston College. Couldn't be him. Should have left when his former coach, Jeff Hafley, who's now a coordinator up in Green Bay. He should have left when Bill O'Brien got there, the whole nine. Just surface level when you saw the quote unquote headline, because, this is a headline driven world now. When you saw the headline with Thomas, your thoughts initially.
Well, I liked it. I
know. You wanted all that.
I like it when guys talk. It's fun, man. It's college sports. This is what makes it so cool. And I love the response from the passionate fans. I love the confidence from him. I love the confidence from the Florida State fans. Now, they might want to pump the brakes a little bit based off how their season went last year. But I like it. Like you said, we don't have a lot to talk about. So I just kind of appreciate in this sort of new age when it seems like authenticity is kind of reigning supreme when it comes to athletes and celebrities. So many people are just wanting these folks to act like normal folks. And so somebody asked him a question. He answered it honestly. Technically he is correct. Nick Saban is no longer the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. However, Kalen DeBoer, fantastic coach, and Tuscaloosa still has some good players. So we'll see what happens the first game of the season. I don't know. What if they do pull the upset?
I've said this and I'll be on record. I don't know anything. Listen, I know nothing whatsoever about Florida State relative to what this looks like until we actually see this on the field. I know some pieces there I can categorize myself as a lover of college football. I will say diehard. I'm not acting like I can name you the two deep on the offensive line at Alabama or Auburn or whatnot or across the country. But here's what I do know. I do know that Thomas Castellanos, with some of his bad play, can change life for teams and keep teams guessing with his athletic ability. Now, you remember a year ago when we started this podcast, after Florida State lost to Georgia Tech, we were all loving what Coach Brent Key and that staff did. The next following game I said Boston College was going to be Florida State because of Castellanos and Bill O'Brien and how helter-skelter he is as far as within the confines or lack thereof of an offense. I know that Gus Malzahn is there. I know that Mike Norvell was a pupil under Malzahn. I know from fans in here in this part of the state understand what that looks like with a very versatile, diverse quarterback that can run it. I would be hard pressed to believe that this is not a close game. I've heard more people than not believe that this is going to be a blowout, and very well could be. But how do we truly, really know? Like, if you tell me that Florida State's playing Alabama in week 6, you got me. But we don't know what this looks like. We don't know what Thomas Castellanos and company is like. There are some things that I know that Kalen DeBoer and his staff, Ryan Grubb and company, and Kane Womack will look at from tendencies that Gus has had where he was at UCF and Auburn in his career. But you don't know until your guys get on the field and have to deal with Castellanos and the revamped roster that Florida State has. And more importantly, let's just be real. If you think that Mike Norvell and them are not going to be played desperate anyway relative to a 2-10 season, you're insane. Alabama's a team that needs to is for me, all of the pressure is on Alabama to win this game. So I've said it. I think that it's going to be a close game. It's either going to be if you are in the betting world, I've said I'm taking the points for Florida State. I don't care what it is. Now, to Thomas, you're exactly right. He's getting killed from the standpoint of, wait a minute, man, you quit on your team. Left the team middle of the year. He got benched. He said that he was nicked up. He had some other players on his team that were nicked up. Didn't see eye to eye with Bill O'Brien.
Which, to his credit, a lot of people have not seen eye to eye with Bill O'Brien.
I am so glad that you mentioned that. I don't know Bill O'Brien. Never met this man in my life. Here's what I do know. I've seen on video, my own 2 eyes. I got one eye left at 42. I see with my 2 eyes him go back and forth with arguably one of the top 10 wide receivers in the last 25 years. That said, wide receivers like, nah, I won't be out of here. I understand. I've seen him go back and forth with players and what. There's a lot of people in the NFL that don't like him.
Yeah, go ask the Houston Texans fan base what they think about Bill O'Brien.
Correct. So we want to negate that with what Thomas Castellanos was saying. Now, here's the biggest issue, the glaring issue with Thomas Castellanos, that there's nothing to defend. Thomas, I understand it's a transfer portal era. You can't leave your team in the middle of the year. Here's why. It's not like there was some sort of deadline for you to be able to get in the transfer portal. We saw a Texas player. We saw a Penn State player. Coaches, full blessing because December was here. We're in bowl situations. They had to leave to be able to get into the portal so they could shop around, right? Thomas, there was nothing that was going to, you should have just stayed with your teammates and then left. And then everything else that you're saying, man, you got me. But that's the mistake that was made. You can't leave your team in the middle of the year while we're in the midst of everything because you got benched after, I believe it was after, you did not play well down the stretch when you, in a winnable game against Missouri on the road, you threw a egregious interception in that game. I watched it. But with all that said, we understand your talent and what you can do, but that's where you're caught in a conundrum because you just left your team. But everything else you're saying, I'm cool. Have your confidence. Believe in yourself. Say what you want to say about Alabama. Whatever. I don't have any problems with it. It's the summer. You're here for all the smoke, PP.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. But that's where I can't defend that because once again, you just like abruptly like left your team like because you took your ball and went home because you weren't playing. Whether you were nicked up, banged up, you didn't get along with Bill O'Brien, didn't matter. There was nothing you could do to change your circumstance in the transfer. No one was picking you up in the portal. You could get some guarantees behind the scenes. But that's the only issue that I have with Thomas. I think he's dynamic as dynamic can be. I think, as he mentioned, he wants to be himself. I think he will be just that with Gus Malzahn letting him play football. But if I'm an Alabama fan or defensive coordinator Kane Womack and his staff, I know that I can bait him into mistakes, coughing up the football. And, hey, if he doesn't, you shake that young man's hand and say good game, and he played well.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I think you'd be able to tell early on in that game how that game's going to go within the first couple, 2 or 3 drives. If Alabama comes out guns blazing, not necessarily for the rest of the season, because again, we talked about Mike Norvell and this Florida State team. There's a lot of those players on that Seminole team that just quit last season. Now, some of those bad apples are probably out of the locker room. They're transferred out. Mm-hmm. But, that's going to linger, especially to the Florida State Seminole fans, too, as well. Like, if you come out, first 2 drives, you go 3 and out, and whether Alabama, turns it over to Ty Simpson and they air it out, or whether what I think might happen, they just pound the rock. They got two or three monsters on the offensive line.
And offensive line
and the running
fantastic.
Back.
Yeah,
this could be an old school smash mouth Alabama team.
It could, especially with a first time starter. Technically, a potential full game with him with Ty Simpson. I just we don't know what we don't know. Like we're just listen. Alabama on quote unquote paper has the better roster, but like there's a lot of guys there that. You can dance around this all. You don't know. It's like Kentucky Wildcats, Patrick. So like I'm from the state of Kentucky, and obviously I have an affinity for the team in South Bend, Indiana. But it's like, and I will ask this to a number of our guests, a number of folks in and around when we go to media days. But like, here's Mark Stoops that's on the hottest of hot seats within the league. Patrick, no one knows about the team. You don't know. So how what do I look like talking about Kentucky and saying what they could be relative to we just don't know. Now we can say that it don't look good.
Yeah.
What if they lose to Jason Candle and Toledo early in the year? Like, we do not know. But that's the point. How can you say, put it this way, with just sight unseen? Optics would tell you that Florida State has a better roster than Kentucky right now, correct?
Yeah.
Optics will also tell you that Malzahn and Norvell, relative to 36 months ago, an undefeated program, just missed the college football playoff, are in a better position and situation than Kentucky, Mark Stoops and his staff, right? Especially if they lost their top ace recruiter, longtime respected man in this business, Vince Morrow, to the crosstown rival in Louisville this year, like 3 weeks ago anyway. So all I'm saying is, for any fan of college football to sit here and just say, oh, Alabama's going to win, but they very well could. But here's what I do know. Florida State's going to have athletes. Florida State's going to have guys that can get after you know what, and they got a dynamic potential game changer at quarterback with a new offensive coordinator that is prone to doing some really good things offensively, and has nothing to do with Alabama, but it does have something to do with Alabama because you were there for close to 10 years. So yeah,
the football gods might like Malzahn against Alabama. Man. He's got a pretty good track record.
We just don't know. Switching gears to Auburn, another topic this week within the state. Patrick, people are falling, thinking the sky is completely fallen. It's green with purple polka dots because Auburn has lost a handful of robo recruits for the class of 2026. And I used to love recruiting when I was in college, the exception of rivals and whatnot. But my man, they may have one of the top 7 or 8 rosters pay-wise in the country. Like, all the chips are in the middle of the table. But why, Patrick? Gus Malzahn, Hugh Freeze, you need to win.
Yeah.
I like you. Like you as a person. We had an opportunity to do a one-on-one with him last summer. Think he's a fantastic coach. But guys, in this age of July 1st with this new $20.5 million deal, it's going to be hard to really try to allocate funds in that package that universities have to try to guarantee dollars to players that are not even on your roster and they can't sign yet.
Yeah.
Why are y'all flip? I'll tell you the biggest elixir for Auburn football or any other program in the country that is looking for a highly touted recruiting class for the class of 2026. W's.
Yeah.
Let Hugh Freeze and company start out 9-0. You think them guys ain't going to turn back around, come back?
And also, like, recruiting doesn't stop with just the 18-year-old senior in high school.
Thank you, Patrick.
There's a transfer portal that Auburn happened to use this season to bring in a bunch of talent.
You arguably may have picked up 2 of the top 8 players in the portal that are impactful. Eric Singleton Jr., for those that didn't have an opportunity to watch Georgia Tech at all, is a flat-out animal.
Yeah.
I got to pay Cam Coleman. I got to pay Malcolm Simmons, Perry Thompson. I got to pay those guys. I got to pay 2 offensive linemen that I've got out of the portal. I had to pay Jackson Arnold, a guy that's going to start from game 1. I got guaranteed money with Deuce Knight. There's a lot of money involved with this roster to win right now. Man, they go to the playoff or they win the national championship. Patrick, everybody, NIL, your donors and your coffers there that can generate more revenue outside of that said budget, it's all going to come. But here's what I can do. I can't be 2-9.
No.
2-6, 4-8.
No, that can't happen.
So
he won't finish the season.
No, let's just pump the brakes, everybody. Like, it's all good. Auburn fans, I get it. It's everyone, including myself and everyone. We have to recondition the way we look at college football as a whole, because there's dollars involved over the table instead of under the table, and there's still going to be dollars under the table. But we have to reimagine what this looks like. Newsflash, the national champion, more times than not, Patrick, is not going to go undefeated. Did y'all know that?
Especially now.
You're going to lose games. But you know the great thing about this? We have a playoff. I can lose multiple games, play a really good schedule, and get into the playoff, and then I can have a one-off and try to make a run to win a national championship. The precipice for programs that have any sort of ideology or goals or aspirations of reaching a national championship, you have to reach the playoff, because it's going to go from 12 to 16 eventually. And at some point, that is the barometer. Bowl eligible, playoff. Also, the trickle-down effect for me, for the Troys and the Jacksonville States and Alabama A&Ms and your FCS programs is going to be immense, because P4 programs, Patrick, and once the Pac-12 gets back into it in 26, 27, P4, P5 programs, there's only so many dollars that you're going to be allocated to your impactful guys, your 4 and 5 star guys. There could be some 3 stars and some 4 stars that are going to fall through the cracks that Jacksonville State could be able to pay. So now you're going to see that second level of programs, Patrick, at the FCS, that are going to reap the benefits of elite talent and haul in incredible recruiting classes that they've never seen before, all because of the dollars and the money allocated as far as basically glorified NFL in the cap. So I just had to go on to let that little rant. Like, I don't know anything about some of these kids that are coming to said campus here, but let's just pump the brakes. If you win, kids come. Hey, I have an affinity for a team in South Bend, Indiana. Right now, on June 25th of 2025, Notre Dame as in greater position as they've been in over a decade. Why? Said kid just saw them beat Georgia. Said kid just watched them beat Penn State. Said kid saw them compete to the very end against Ohio State. Notre Dame's cool, man. Georgia's cool. You know why they cool? They winning.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. Kids like the bright shiny toys.
Absolutely. And these coaching hot seats, they can cool off pretty quickly when you start getting W. We just saw it last season with Ryan Day. People calling for his head, lost in Michigan, and then he's hoisting up a national championship.
Breaks off in Tennessee, and next thing you know, because here's the thing, let's be real. Once again, everyone keeps talking about the playoff. We discussed the playoff and how important it is for the continuing enhancement of college football. If there was no playoff, was Ohio State going to the 14 playoff, losing to Michigan in the last game of the year?
Oh, probably not.
They're out.
Yeah, they're out.
He's probably fired.
And he's probably fired, yeah.
He gets in, gets another lifeline or an extra man, a la Mario Brothers style, and goes and beats Tennessee, beats the brakes, literally as dominant as what everyone had projected them to be in week 1.
Yeah, they started beating the crap. They beat the crap out of Tennessee, beat the crap out of Oregon. Remember, the Oregon game started late because the other game went over, and then they came over and it was like 14-0 already, and you're like, what happened?
Out city.
Yeah,
they dominated, and let's just be real, dominated Notre Dame up until a quarter and a half. Notre Dame made a nice run to compete, but as dominant of a run in the playoff format as we've seen. So, long story short, short story long. College football fans, we're not out of the mindset that we've had to have over the last 25 years. We made an incremental change in 1998 with the BCS, and we've changed to the 14 playoff in 14, and here we are in the 12-team playoff. So, yeah, man, I just want everybody to pump the brakes and let this all play out. Get excited for Auburn being excellent this year. Get excited for Oklahoma being excellent this year. Get excited for some of these programs, Floridas of the world, these quarterbacks that you have. Just went on the field and You'll be all right.
And it can change. Yeah, your fortune can change really quickly in this new age.
Hey, who did you have on the hot seat? Two coaches before when we were in that hotel room with this very first podcast talking about hot seats. Billy Napier.
Oh, Billy Napier.
Sam Pittman.
Yep.
Ain't they still here?
Now look at especially Napier. You might have what could end up being in DJ Lagway, the best quarterback in the nation at the end of the season.
How do you? Taylor Green is a dude that can flat out get it for Arkansas. Change life for the Razorbacks. How do you know? So, I get it. We have to talk about things. It's the middle of the summer, but what's going to really truly matter is in less than 90 days that when ball is on said turf and or grass and people are getting their faces ripped off, wins and losses, W's and L's. That's what's going to determine your futures within your organization, as I like to say, your university and your coaching staff in college football. So, listen, we got a little ways to go. Want everybody to enjoy their summer. We're recording this on a Wednesday. It's like 99 degrees outside. I'm about to go to a golf course. We got a community tournament that begins that got underway this morning. But listen, for yours truly, I love the heat. I love the sun. I love all that humidity. I want all that stuff. I know a lot of people don't, but we are. I mean, it's hard to believe, but we're gearing up for this, Patrick. We're getting close to just media days alone kind of gets us kind of set for the college football season. I'm just happy that you're going to be like, you had a nice base last year. Yeah. You really watched it. I know you're a Titans fan. I know you ready for week one, preseason. That first play action when they dumped to the tight end flaring off like, oh my God, he was amazing. Look at Cam Ward. I know you're ready for that.
I'm ready for that. I'm already seeing like the people post the new Madden game, like the betas.
Oh yeah.
They have new quarterback throwing animations. I saw TikTok got me pretty excited about Cam Ward's throwing animation. So
you're definitely buying this game just for Cam Ward.
Well, I don't have a console, so no, I won't be buying it.
You don't have a console?
No, I got rid of all that stuff.
I feel you.
Yeah, but I am extremely excited about this Tennessee Titans season. 17-0. I've been on record.
You said 17-0.
I'm technically not wrong right now.
You are not wrong. You're not wrong. Look, got a lot of I got an affinity for Cam Ward. I'm just glad that I would be utterly shocked if this does not work. Shocked.
Yeah, I think we have a guy.
You got a guy.
We have a guy.
You got a guy. It's just now everything around him. Like, you got to have said front office. Let's surround him with things in the next 2 to 3 years where, listen, there's nothing greater in my life, as much as I give him credit and grief for. I love the Titans because the Titans were part of my life early on in my career because I had to cover them all the time and working in Tennessee. But man, like, that fan base is awesome. They deserve a championship. And man, like, I want them to be good when the new stadium opens, man. Like, yeah, that's dope. Like, they should be. They should be like, listen, it just can't be cataclysmic like 1 and 2 wins. Like, you give me anything over 4, I'm good.
Yeah, I think we're good. And if you think about it, if Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders both hit, we will now have a run of almost 8 quarterbacks from going back to last year's draft class that are going to range from either very good to potentially like very, very, very good franchise changers for people. Like, what happens if J.J. McCarthy's good on the Vikings?
Correct.
We haven't seen him take a snap.
We're almost like we're in this, as we switching into the NFL, it's almost like we're in this, I won't say doldrum phase, but a transitional phase relative to our elite quarterbacks are at their apex, and there's only one way to go in the next 5 years. Whereas the next batch, it looks like that, are just starting but have a lot of promise. I just want it to be seamless where we just don't have half of the league do bad quarterback play. I don't think we will. I think this group is right. I think they've gotten enough right that I think within the franchise, everybody has a guy.
Yeah.
And the NFL and rules have made it as such that they want everybody to get a guy so that every one of these games are exciting and competitive. I mean, heck, I remember in the 90s, man, like there's some games like teams were bad, like the Bengals and the Cardinals. Like they were just terrible. You knew they were going to be bad every year.
Yeah, and so there were some terrible guys taking snaps under center.
Horrible.
that were throwing like 20 interceptions a season.
Correct. So, no, we're excited, man. Listen, subscribe. Take After Take is with you each and every Thursday. We're audioing it this week as well. We'll get back as we head into SEC Media Days. We'll do a lot of on-screen You'll see us video wise along with the podcast as well. I'm super excited for that week because we'll be able to get some folks in. We're also going to line up, got some special guests lined up, talk about college football, talk about the college football video game that comes out. I'm excited for that as well. We got wrestling fans here as well. So I'm excited for the month of July and August before we kind of get into the throes of high school and college football. We are on our 48 Sports Zone app. You can download that to listen to this audio as well Thursday morning. And of course, Apple App Store and the iTunes Store and Spotify, we're there as well. Just like, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and a comment on the show. We will dive deeper into college football in the coming weeks as well. But we're excited for the summer. Take a little break when we're not really taking a break, but trying to take a break before we get into the throes of everything. So for producer Pat, I'm Carl Prather. Folks, we'll see you back here next week.